if every month just before your period you feel very low in energy, very unstable in mood, with a lot of brain fog, unable to concentrate, and extremely irritated by everything and everyone around you, this video is for you. Today we're talking about PMS and PMDD. A little while ago, I posted a video on the psychology of the menstrual cycle, and I have to say the response was amazing. Thank you so much for your love and support. Among the feedback, I noticed that many people wanted to dive into deeper topics, such as premenstrual syndrome, PMS, and premenstrual dysphoric disorder, PMDD. I also posted a couple of videos on other socials asking for your questions, and there were loads of it. And honestly, I'm not surprised. Unfortunately, women's health still doesn't get a lot of attention. That's why I decided to tap into my experience as a psychologist in a female ward to share everything there is to know about PMS and more specifically PMDD. We're going to talk about what is it, why it happens, what treatment options are available, and what can the people around you do to support. So if you're dealing with PMS or PMDD, or you know anyone in your life that is going through it, go and grab pen and paper because you might want to take notes. And while you do that, hi, my name is Bri. I'm a pre-qualified psychologist and trainee counselor working in London, and on this channel I like to share insight about psychology as well as lessons from my life and my career to help you live a healthier, happier and more productive life. So if that sounds like something that might interest you, then you might want to subscribe and stick around. Before discussing PMS and PMDD, I think it is important to talk about the luteal phase, as that is the phase of our cycle where PMS and PMDD would happen. I discussed this more extensively in my menstrual cycle video, so you might want to check that out. But just to recap quickly, after ovulation, when an egg is released in your uterus, your estrogen, that are your sexy and productive hormones, will drop, and progesterone, that is your chill out, relaxed hormone, will increase and dominate the luteal phase. This change in hormone essentially prepares your body for a possible pregnancy, and because she is potentially expecting a baby, Madam Brain wants you to rest and chill out. This is why you may feel like you want to stay more in bed, you're craving more comfort foods, you just want to be cozy and lay down. Additionally, serotonin, that is an happy chemical in your brain, might also decrease, and this appears to be related to the decrease in estrogen. I was not completely clear as to why this happened, so I asked my sister, a student doctor, and after throwing some very scary words at me, such as tryptophan hydroxylase, she told me that, in summary, serotonin helps your body produce more serotonin, make serotonin stay in our bodies for longer, and make serotonin work better for us. All of this is due to a number of chemical and biological reactions in our bodies, which I'm not gonna go into, but all we need to know is that during the luteal phase of our cycle, we have lower estrogens, which means usually lower mood because of the lack of serotonin. This is not only relevant when talking about PMS and PMDD, but also when we talk about menopause, perimenopause, during pregnancy, postpartum. So this change in hormone is what happens to generally all women and people with a uterus. However, some women may struggle with premenstrual syndrome, PMS, or premenstrual dysphoric disorder, PMDD. When we talk about PMS, we usually refer to a number of biological, psychological, and behavioral changes that happen during the luteal phase of our cycle. And for some women, this can be very distressing and hit them very hard, making them more irritable, anxious, and more prone to mood swings. You might get cravings for all the wrong stuff, and you might even have disrupted sleep. And for a part of these women, these symptoms will be so severe that we will be talking about PMDD. PMDD is usually described as PMS's nastier sister. However, people affected by PMDD don't really like to describe it in this way, just because of the huge impact that PMDD can have on someone's life. That's why the slogan, no, it's not just bad PMS. Symptoms of PMDD can include very severe mood swings, such as getting very irritable or very tearful, lacking energy and being consistently tired, having less interest in activities that you usually enjoy, time, feeling hopeless, difficulties concentrating, pain in muscles, joints, breast swelling, severe bloating to the point that you're not able to carry out your normal activities due to the pain. All of this happens to the point that it interferes with your daily life. For example, it can get you into conflict with people that you know, it can make you miss work, or it can affect your work in any other way. It can affect the way you carry out your regular activities. And I want to talk about something else that is associated with PMDD, and I will need to beep some words so that YouTube doesn't get scared, but some women with PMDD might experience adult thoughts. And also, I've heard this as part of my job as a psychologist in a women's forensic ward. Some women with PMDD might get even thoughts to the point that PMDD will be considered as part of the context whereby a woman has committed some crimes. This is obviously not a justification. As a psychologist, I deeply believe that we should take ownership and responsibility for the things that we do in our life. However, I am saying all of this to help people understand the extent of the problem. A systematic review including 17 papers and 475 women that met the criteria for PMDD reported that women were describing the symptoms of PMDD as intense, life-changing, and life-controlling. And something else that I want to state is that this is not normal. PMS or PMDD may be common, but they're not normal. And please don't let anyone gaslight you into thinking that these symptoms and this struggle that you experience are just part of being a woman. And no, you should not just put up with them. None of this is normal, but as we will see, there are things that we can do to help. Now for the $1 million question. Why does it happen? I genuinely believe that knowledge is power, and the more we understand why something happened, the more prepared we are to take steps to solve it or manage it. This is why I did extensive research to understand why PMS and in particular PMDD even happen. I will try to break it down in a way that feels hopefully accessible. On a chemical level, as we said, during the luteal phase of the cycle, progesterone will increase. Progesterone is then broken down into many things, and one of these things is called allopregnanolone. Now, another chemical enters the chat, GABA. You can imagine GABA as a chilled hormone that basically reduces all of the noises in the brain, making you relax. During the luteal phase of your cycle, allopregnanolone will bind to GABA, and in theory, for most women, this will make them feel more relaxed. However, this does not seem to be the case for women with bad PMS or PMDD. If you have these conditions, your brain will respond abnormally to the rise and fall of allopregnanolone, and instead of making you feel more relaxed, you will be feeling more reactive, which means more anxious, more overwhelmed, and more irritable. But it's not that the hormones are missing or are not binding. It's the brain that seems to have a different sensitivity to hormonal changes. Now, I'm sure you all want to know where this sensitivity comes from. And I will start with the bad news first. The exact reasons are still unknown. I know that this is not the answer that you probably want to hear, but the reality is that the women's health is still very much under-researched. And truly, my heart breaks saying this. However, some theories have been made. The first theory is genetics. Increased sensitivity to hormonal changes might be driven by genetics. This means that it is something that you inherit. And one question that I got about this was, if it is genetic, does it mean that I will pass it on to my daughters? And the answer is yes and no. Genetics is a little bit more complex than that. Just because you possess a certain trait doesn't mean that you will definitely pass it on to your children. Just as if you have blue eyes, it doesn't mean that your children will also have blue eyes. However, according to this theory, which, by the way, we don't even know if it's true, it is a possibility. But if that is the case, you don't need to worry, because there are ways in which you can manage your symptoms and as a consequence help your potential daughters with their symptoms too. This will come up in the next section. Another theory has to do with stress and in particular trauma. Some theories suggest that PMDD in particular might be linked to stressful and traumatic past events, such as emotional or physical abuse. Everyday stress, as we will see, can also make your symptoms worse. And finally, the last theory is lifestyle factors. Things such as smoking or drinking could impact your hormone sensitivity. And now let's talk about what everyone wants to know, that is possible treatments. what treatment options are out there for PMS and or PMDD. I'm going to divide this section into 3 parts: medications, supplements, and lifestyle. This is not by order of importance. Actually, I will say that lifestyle is the most important thing. But let's start with medications. Doctors will likely offer one of these 2 options: antidepressants, in particular SSRIs, and the birth control pill. I can see you rolling your eyes, but hear me out. SSRIs are very effective antidepressants. Do you remember when we were saying that during the luteal phase of your cycle, the drop in estrogen also causes serotonin, your happy hormone, to either run out quickly or not be produced at all? Well, SSRIs make sure that serotonin stays around in your brain for longer, which is going to boost your mood and reduce your anxiety. SSRIs are generally not addictive, and my understanding is that for cases of PMDD, you can either take them every day of your cycle or just during the luteal phase. And now for the birth control pill. I know that the pill has gotten a bad reputation recently, and sometimes for a good reason, but I'm here to defend my girl, right? I know that some women have very bad side effects on it, and I know that it definitely does not work for everybody. However, for other women, it can be extremely beneficial. And I know that you all don't want to feel like guinea pigs and testing and trying a lot of different treatments. I totally understand that. But if you've never tried it, maybe you could give it a shot. There are a lot of different pills out there, and you can always request a consultation to just find out which one will be the best fit for you. Now for supplements and natural remedies. One of the questions I got asked was whether supplements and natural remedies worked well for PMDD. Research shows that some supplementation might help if you're not getting enough nutrients in your diet. In particular, for PMDD, you will be looking at things like calcium, vitamin B6, magnesium, and L-tryptophan. Some research suggests that Vitex agnus castus may reduce irritability, mood swings, breast tenderness, swellings, cramps, and cravings associated with PMDD. However, supplements are not regulated in the same way that medications do, and you never know whether a supplement could cause you more harm than good. Always speak to your doctor before taking any kind of supplement, especially if you have any underlying condition or you're taking other medications that you don't know whether they might interact badly with the supplement. In addition, before looking at quick fixes, whether that is supplements or medication, you need to have a very strong foundation. Otherwise, none of these medications or supplements will work. And that is where lifestyle comes in. In terms of lifestyle, the main thing that would alleviate the symptoms of PMS and PMDD will be tackling inflammation. I'm going to make a separate video about inflammation, how it impacts women, and how we can manage it. So make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell if you don't want to miss it. However, in general, things that we can do to tackle inflammation include avoiding ultra-processed food, doing regular exercise, cutting alcohol, stopping smoking, getting enough sleep, reduce stress, maybe include techniques such as meditation, journaling, breathwork, mindfulness into our routine to manage stress, drinking enough water, and getting your steps in. I know all of this sounds extremely boring, but as someone that has struggled with inflammation and very bad PMS, I can promise you that if you start implementing these changes consistently for a period of time, you will be amazed at the results. I cannot even begin to describe it. Sometimes the simplest things are those that have the biggest impact. So make sure that you have a very good foundation before trying to fix anything with medications or supplements. Start from the basics. In my channel, I usually talk about Maslow hierarchy of needs. And remember that at the foundation of the pyramid, at the bottom of the pyramid, there are the physiological needs. You need to address those one first before moving up on the pyramid. In any case, something that I would suggest is to keep a symptom diary to bring to your doctor if you decide to see one. This really helps a medical professional figure out what might be going on for you and suggest treatment options. Also, doctor's appointment can be very quick, especially in the UK. So if you already have a list of all the things that you want to discuss, you will ensure that you won't leave the room not having shared everything that you wanted to. And finally, another question that I received a lot was, what can people around me do to support? And honestly, I feel that one. One of the biggest concerns people have with PMDD is that it can lead you to have conflicts with those around you, especially partners and family members, in a way that feels almost out of your control, whilst actually getting support from the people you love is essential during this time. What you can do when you are not experiencing symptoms of PMS or PMDD is to calmly explain to those around you what PMDD is, why it possibly happens, and how it feels like for you. You can also show them this video so that they really understand the inside outs of it. You could also let them know that it might happen that you are more reactive around that time and that it has nothing to do with them. Each one of us will need different things when we're struggling, so you might want to think about what kind of support you might need around that time and maybe voicing that to the people around you. However, and you are not gonna like this probably, but as a therapist, I also believe in personal responsibility. Before you come at me, hear me out. I know that PMS and PMDD are very hard. Trust me, I know that. And even though it is very hard for us to control our emotions and our reactions around the time, this cannot be an excuse or a justification for our behavior. This is the hard truth. People around us have feelings and emotions too. And it might happen that we end up hurting them when we are experiencing symptoms of PMS or PMDD. And if that happens, even if we do that unintentionally, we still need to take responsibility for it. We can definitely ask people to be more patient with us around that time, and obviously remind people around us that saying it must be the time of the month, it's never okay. Like, I feel like right now in 2026, that's just pure rage baiting, but you won't get away with shouting at someone, treating someone badly just because you have PMDD. This needs to be a collaborative work between you and the people around you that can ensure that you get the support that you need, whilst ensuring that your symptoms don't get too much in the way of your relationships. And this brings us to the end of the video. I really enjoyed filming this one. I hope you guys enjoyed it as well and found it helpful. This was a suggested video, so if you have any other suggestions about this or a similar topic that you would like me to do, please let me know in the comments below. I obviously want to make sure that I post videos that are relevant to you and that can help as many people, in particular as many women as possible, as I am truly passionate about women's health. I'm a psychologist, so women's mental health in particular, and my personal philosophy is that is very much holistic, right? Our physical health and our mental health are all interconnected, and that is why I made this video. If you like this video, you might also like this video here where I talk about the psychology of the menstrual cycle, which will really help you understand why we think, feel and behave in different ways during different phases of our cycle. Or you might want to watch this video here where I talk about stress management that is crucial when we talk about PMS and PMDD. So I will see you over there, or I will see you in my next video. Bye!